is 3:30. I will call the meeting of the Cemetery Committee to order Monday, May 12th. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have a couple. I've had people reach out to me. I wanted to make sure everybody got the updated note. Rennie not being here and her scheduling conflict. She's got a monthly meeting at this time. So it makes it hard for her to be here. She was wondering if we could maybe move the day to Tuesday.
I think Roxanne told me that
Well, so
soon.
what we're just gonna do is go over the additions and deletions. We're not gonna have a discussion until we talk about it.
Okay, so there was that. That was the simpler one. I got an email from Donna Holden, and she said that she had brought, I think it was during COVID maybe, brought it to the attention of Jeff and the committee, talking about green burials and whether or not that was allowed, permitted, or possibly something we could move in the direction of at Hope and Elmwood. So there's that. And then I did follow up with Donnie and Gary Sassy about Gary's monument, and we took pictures of his model on a frame in the position that he would like it in. And I did go to Nicholas with that, and because that was a recommendation of the committee beforehand. So there's that.
Okay, so we'll do Donna's under old business,
Okay.
because we did have a meeting about it. So that will go under old business, and I think and Gary's will also go under old business.
Yep.
And then Rennie's scheduling conflict will go under new business.
Okay.
Anything else under additions and deletions? Okay, so if that looks good to everyone, I will look for a motion to add those 3 items to old business and new business.
Make motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Public comment. All right, there's no public to make any comments. I look for an approval of the meeting minutes for April 14th, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Anything incorrect or needs adjustment? Okay, who's taking minutes?
I am.
Okay, I've got this form. It will clean everything up. Carol gave that years and years ago. I think Rennie had it and then Star had it. Great, all in favor of the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Old business, the Cozy Endowment Trust update. Mark?
Yeah, I've been in contact with the Roman Fountain people. And after talking it out with them, they just do anything. They'll help you design it. They'll take your design and help you develop it. But it felt to me like we ought to come up with our basic design first and get agreed to some sort of location, size, etc. And I think we won't be spinning wheels and paying a lot of money for nothing. So I think we definitely want to do that and develop that thought here, and whether we put that out for design or whatever, it's fine. I did go up and just kind of measure it up. That piece of property that we're talking about is 49 feet by 125 feet with the flagpole and the monument that's there already. It's 39 by 125, excuse me. It's not huge. We could definitely use it. We could definitely, the hard part is on the back side of it, it really slopes down. It's like, I'm thinking about it, I'm at my desk at work and it's flat, and it is not. It's probably,
Once you hit the flagpole, it drops off.
yeah,
That's where the monument is in the flagpole.
right,
Yeah.
right. So Nicholas gave me these things, and I wonder if it might make sense as, you know, just to look at as you come in before you get to the first crossing road, to the right, that whole green space, to do something circular there. That you guys can take a bird's eye view of it.
Are you thinking here?
I'm talking here. Then you can do something sizable, can be done on the flat
Can I mark
spot for
this?
sure.
Can I mark this?
Yeah.
X. Bunch of what?
So I think we gotta do that, we gotta figure out location, I mean, we can use that location that we've always thought about, for sure.
I was thinking that it would be, I went up and walked it and looked and kind of, you know, imagine ASB site, you know, seating and benching and the whole thing, and was thinking that maybe not using the whole space. I was thinking of leaving the flagpole where it is.
Yeah.
And going up to about there, moving the Veterans Monument on the other side of the flagpole, and having the fountain be just in that front spot.
That's came to my mind as well,
Yeah.
and the only thing I see is with only 39 feet to work with, and you've got solid roads that are already there on either side, and so you're not fooling around with that space. Okay, so you're gonna end up with maybe a 20-foot platform for the fountain or something, and just didn't know if that's where we want to leave it. There's two parts of this project to me. One part is we had all talked about doing the fountain long before Eugene Cozy got involved with everything. But when he did get involved, he did so in a monstrous way. So I want to make sure that we honor him correctly for what he contributed, and I wouldn't want it to look skimpy myself personally. That's just an opinion.
Well, I went and looked too, because I thought the flagpole probably could stay where it was. And the Veterans Monument would probably have to go somewhere else if that's the place. And then I went and looked at some fountains, some Roman fountains.
Mm-hmm.
And I found three that are all very different, that look like they could fit there comfortably and look like it's meant to be there. And one I saw that had columns, like a great big stone that's on the right-hand corner.
And Julie.
The Andreoletti, big columns with water coming out around it. And then one that had natural stone, and there was a fountain in the middle with stone coming, and it just standing there looking at that narrow piece, it looked like something like that would really fit in nicely with how long it is.
I think there's a really nice way to do like a long, tasteful, timeless. You know, my concern is that if we go too big, it's really gonna feel out of place in a way.
No,
And if we go on one side of the entrance and then, I don't know, there's not the balance there, it's thrown off. And I think part of the draw of Hope is its quietness in the grass. And, you know, people come to Vermont, they love the greenery, they want to think about farmland and now nature and, you know, the green space really does hold a lot of integrity.
So then we should be taking a stab and how do we approach it? I mean, a rectangle fits very well, obviously, because that's what the space is. I think the fact that it's only 39 feet wide, I think it almost takes round out of the question, which the original fountain was round. So then, okay, we're gonna change that footprint maybe. I guess I would be in favor of identifying, we have this space, this is what it looks like, and put it out for just sketch rendering to whomever in Barre to see what concepts come out of it.
Is there saying anything that we can't eliminate this road here?
I was thinking the exact same thing, but.
Because this will comes in straight.
Those roads.
If you eliminate this one, which is redundant,
Yeah.
you open yourself up to a lot more space.
Tom, which one are you talking about?
This one on this side here.
The right road,
I would say both. I mean, you can get to wherever you wanna go by taking left or right before anything. And it frees up more room.
The only problem with it is you have monuments facing in towards that center section that people do park at. I mean, every time I've been up there, there's people parked. Of course, a lot of them I think are walkers. And I think that's kind of a space where they park. But yeah, I mean,
Take that, eliminate that road.
the one to the left or right is your entrance.
As you're coming in, it's the one on the right. So it would be the northern one, I guess,
Yeah,
that, because
More of a straight shot.
then you have a straight shot in. Eliminate this one on there. You could always turn the monument, the flagpole of the monument, you could turn it. You can even widen this main road, widen this one out. So it's a 2-lane coming in.
You'd widen it to the left.
Yeah, well, widen it to the right. Eliminate the one on the right. Widen this one to the right. So now we have this the one on the, is more of a main drag look to it, main entrance. Then you turn your flagpole and your Veterans Memorial, where you understand, you put it up to the front, and put the fountain in the back, or you can go either way.
yeah, I don't know if we have to do that, but it's definitely an option.
It opens up a lot more possibilities. It
Quite
gets you
frankly,
back to your
might-
circle.
It might create some more gray space. You could put some premium lots in.
Yeah. Or you really widen it and there's, some parking spots for people to visit or quick walkers.
We probably ought to ask somebody whether those roads could be possibly, one could be eliminated or whatever. We probably have to find out from some.
There's city roads.
you're the
That's
city.
how Donnie wound up in the union he's in, because there's city roads and he takes care of them. So it's up, and like any other city road, if you wanna throw it up, you have to. I guess.
Yeah,
The public works and talk to the council.
the only thing that like I said, is that some people might consider their monument road front. And if we take it away, will that cause a stir? I don't know. But I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying it might be an issue.
I think it's good to have options, you know, if we see designs that are wider, that need more space, then we can consider them if we do that,
Yeah.
but.
What do you have space on both sides of these roads between the grade and the edge of the road? Is there room to move that road?
They're grass markers.
Grass markers in there,
They're very close.
very close, so
You know, and those are people, we have to be respectful of
Well, I know,
how we're treating this.
I know like Andrea Letty's monument is pretty nice, right on the corner there, and I'm sure he would pay attention to anything that was going on there, and I wouldn't blame him if he had some specific ideas for his monument.
Yeah. But that would give you an extra 12 feet.
Right, no,
That throws the circular back into, or at least an oval, into the mix.
and maybe we don't need that, maybe, maybe we could throw out two scenarios, we get this existing lot that we may choose, and we're thinking about expanding the lot. And see what people come up with. I mean, there's a lot of talented people whom are sitting right here that, might come up with some really good ideas.
I
And
mean, I thought we were gonna bring ideas to this meeting, like things that we had seen. Did you print out any of the pictures?
No, I just
Of
drew
them?
them.
You
I
did
just
draw
drew
of them?
Yeah.
I mean, I printed out this one and it's like a short version. But something that is in line with what's already there. Can you imagine that just longer? Having one end with a higher part on it and then having, and maybe, wider so people can sit on
that
it.
one doesn't grab me,
Doesn't grab you.
doesn't mean anything.
But
It's not great.
something, something that could fit there.
Yeah, oh no,
But
I hate to see a screen, I'd like to look right through it.
right through it.
I personally, because the whole
I'm just a
series focus.
Huge fan of fancy molding and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
so
Well,
it's pretty.
my thought was always pen tight
Yes,
with moldings, all.
put it all around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I don't think this is necessarily the group that's gonna come up with this, I still
The
think
design,
we've
yeah.
gotta throw something out. We've got a lot of talented people in this city.
Yeah.
It's gotta be public and some sort of focus group to create a criteria, something like that. It can start here, but I think we just like kind of draw the outline for the public group, but having.
And I think we had talked about the need for a general contractor for this thing. To me, that person ought to be in charge of that process. We gotta figure out who that person's gonna be, or that entity is gonna be. And that should be maybe our first focus. If this is kind of where we wanna go with it, we need somebody to take us there. You think?
I agree.
So you think a contractor would be in charge of choosing the design?
At least facilitating the talks of it. And, I'm not saying it's maybe a contract, maybe it's an architect, I don't know, I don't know who it is. But it's not me.
I mean, I think you said it's just a facilitator,
Mhm.
just a facilitator.
Right,
It's not someone connected, in any of the realms. It kind of reaches out and pulls those people in.
There are some contractors that I've worked with over the years that are really good at that, just understanding what can be done and helping you bring yourself to where you want to be. I'll mention Larry Rossi, I think he's really talented guy. And there's more than him, I mean, there's a lot of good people out there, but that's the kind of person I think we need.
Are you looking for someone, like someone that we hire to do it? Or are you looking for someone like Jeff to kind of, who knows the layout and is retired and kind of has that free time?
I think Jeff and others should be involved with somebody who's a paid guy, somebody who does this for a living, somebody, we've got the chance to hit
That's
a run.
money.
We can, but we don't wanna drop the ball on it. We want to achieve something very nice for our city. But I don't think it comes from this table necessarily. A lot of the ideas will come from this table.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but like, I think it's not to, I don't wanna say small, but I'm gonna say small. I think it needs to start out small, and when you pull those paid entities in, like hiring an architect, I don't think you need to hire an architect first, or someone like a contractor first, because that, I mean, it's money, it still eats up money, but starting out slow, someone who can kind of build the bones first, and then go out, kind of ideas, because you said that, you need ideas before you go to someone else, so I think having that before we start paying people would be beneficial. Like, we just get, resources together and then figure out where we go.
Well, and if you want to go that route, which is fine, to me, we'd have to see if we could make a plan view of the area with dimensions on it, show the existing structures with exact dimensions of what's there, and say, this is the site we have, different photo, if we could get, be nice to get a drone shot or something that you could get coming in so you could really see
Yeah.
it. That's something that's not necessarily just above that comes in and then put it out there and say, we're welcoming your ideas and put a time frame on it. So we're gonna take ideas until whatever date.
And you want to put out some parameters, right? Is it gonna have lighting? Is it gonna have, how big of a footprint are you looking to film it? A little bit of guidance.
Well, to me, if we throw out the existing, I mean, we could make a statement that it may be possible to expand the current island into one of the roads. I think we're gonna hear about it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear about that too.
I think we're gonna hear about it big time. Maybe, I mean, we all know that it's a possibility to maybe do that, but maybe we see what comes out of the planning and design part of this, so that we catch the ideas and bring them in and say, hey, all of a sudden we got a track. This is a really good idea. We know that we could steal some room if we needed to. Maybe. That it's always an option. But I think we're gonna have to get ideas coming in somehow, quick.
They just did that with the banners downtown. They put out an open call for artists to design and send in submissions for the banners. Were you involved with that, Tom?
No.
No. Yeah, they put it out. I think there was like an open call for 6 weeks or something, and people sent in their designs, and then a committee, I suppose, picked which ones were gonna get printed, and now they're the banners in downtown. So seems like it should be a relatively simple thing to do, to put it out to the public, as long as we have documentation of the space and the parameters, that we're looking at. Are you planning on like paying people for their designs if they get picked, or is it just cred?
I don't see that. I mean, I personally, there's a lot of granite people who've thrown a lot of things out there for nothing for years around here, so I think design would also, could be credited,
Could be credited.
to me.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
I'm just asking because I think people might ask,
Is there still a design or architectural program at Spalding? To have those students involved?
There's there's STEM programs, there's the art department, so we can access those.
Right, like I know Doug Netto used to have a class for design.
Long time ago.
I think this is something we want to do professionally. I'm not sure, students. I mean, they have wonderful ideas. I don't think there's a program there anymore that will feed into something like this.
So how do we move ahead? Somehow we're gonna have to develop a prospectus of what it is we're looking for and the elements that we're looking for. And how are we gonna make that happen?
Put it in the newspaper, put it online, put it on the city website, or, shoot it out of social.
Somehow we're gonna have to capture some of this and maybe put a red line around it, this
Mhm.
proposed site, rough dimensions.
Who to send their designs to.
Yeah.
All that kind of
So
stuff.
who can do that?
A lot of people, you can look it up online. And a lot of people are really good at, they can pull the dimensions off it, you know what you're doing. You get pretty accurate dimensions offline. So, Lord said, zoom in
I'm trying to include idiots like me who can't do that stuff.
Old fashioned tape measure, walk out.
Yeah, that's it, that's what
I'm
I
like
just did.
counting footsteps, yeah.
and pace it off.
Is there a city engineer that could help us?
What was that?
Is there a city engineer that could help us do the dimensions?
I'm sure they could probably go shoot it.
Nicholas said these to me, and what the hell did he say? He said, it includes the body, but there is a click, you can click on this whole thing and probably crop it any way you want. But
Well, he
I'm
told
just saying I can't do
39
it.
by 125, we can just say approximately 39 by 125. This is the space, if you're interested in designing for it. We
Now, did
encourage you
that-
to visit
is that
the cemetery.
Road edge to road edge, or did you leave a little space?
That was road to road,
Road, that's road to road.
a little space on the length, it's a little longer than what I said,
But
but it was going
I
down
know
so
it
fast.
does,
like, down.
because those roads are plowed
Right,
and there are snowbanks.
right,
And once the snowbank gets there, you don't know where the edge is anymore. I
yeah,
hate to see it get
it'll mess up the granite.
Maybe it would be better to think of eliminating those two roads because of that.
I would eliminate both of them, because it makes it
Yeah.
difficult to get to the backside, but you could.
I really think you're gonna have a problem with people that had access directly in front of their monument or marker, not having access.
But now they would be the first road in front of this gorgeous new fountain.
Yeah.
They might,
That
and
might
they
be,
could park either way this way. Selectable.
And it's not the first time that roads have been pulled out of Oak Cemetery, so there is precedent.
so that's basically under your direction, right?
Actually, since it's a city road, it would probably go to Public Works and the council. Say,
Would you, ask the question to
yeah,
the appropriate people, just say, we're considering this as an option?
Yeah.
Let's see what they say.
right.
If there might be a hard no, then we take a hard no maybe. But if there's maybe, well, then maybe it's a good idea. You know,
It's an option till it's not an option.
right, right. That's fine with me. So I guess then we ought to start for the next meeting. Shouldn't we maybe individually come up with some ideas of how we bring this out and then maybe pull them together and see if we can collate that to something that works?
Anything else on the, fountain?
No, just that the people that I've talked to are extremely flexible and would do anything for us. But it really sounded to me like if they're gonna go and help with the planning stages and stuff, we're gonna get probably no better a job than we'll get from our local people. who would probably like to be involved anyway.
They have a website,
They do.
do they list their services?
Yeah. Yeah, Roman fountains. And there's others besides that one, but they were recommended, so I just started there. And, you know, they have placed things in the Northeast, so, you know, because the water's gotta shut down and everything for the winter and all that good stuff. There's a lot of things to think about.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
It's a very nice website.
There's,
Donna Holden, Heather, Green Burials, she did, approach Jeff and myself, and we had scheduled a meeting, and she never showed. So we kind of didn't have anything to go forward with, if you want to reach out, I can reach out to her, Donna, and have her come in and talk about it.
Okay, so maybe for the next meeting and schedule one.
Did she give you any?
This is, this is what she sent.
Is that the same letter that she
It's the
sent?
same letter that she sent before. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that
Yep.
there had been a meeting set and that it didn't happen, so. I told her I would bring that to the meeting and we would talk about it and I would let her know.
Cause something happened, I don't remember what it was. There was something in the news about green burials. And it timed with this letter, it was perfect. People were talking about it, it was, something that Jeff really considered and, it didn't go anywhere because Donna didn't show up and talk about it, so. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put the letter in here too.
For the new guy? What are we talking about?
So, Donna Holden was interested in green burials. It's a process where the person is without any buried without any carbon footprint, so there's no embalming. It's wood or cardboard container, and it's the body's buried just
So,
in a tree under a rock and taken care of that way.
so I've been to some cemeteries where they started, most times if you're gonna have green burials, you have a second one dedicated to that disposition.
I can send you.
We're pretty much out of room anyway.
Well,
We have to start a new section.
yeah, but what I was saying is that most of the times you'll see that there's a separate specific section for green burials. And they're hit and miss, from what I can see. There are some people who want to, be buried that way and to me, and a lot of them are very natural, they'll put a rock down and put a, small date and whatever. To me, it doesn't fit Hope, the way Hope is, but it's, it might be something off to the northern section there that we're talking about. Think we could develop something, but if we're starting to, I don't know, we have limited the scope of the products that are allowed to be used in the way of interring people as far as what you can and can't have for a memorial. And to me, to be able to go in and just place a field stone, I get it, but I don't know as if it fits Hope Cemetery.
I think that's only part of the green burial, like that's a pretty big umbrella, and so the burial part and the, no embalming, no cremation, because those use fossil fuel, I think is relatively separate from the markers.
Yes,
So
so
if
it's a method
we
of
wanted to
determining.
stay in line with what, what's at Hope, we could do, yes, you can have a green burial, but you have to have at least a grass marker, and it has to be very gray.
I
And
guess
then
that makes
if
a
you
lot
want
of
a
sense.
bigger stone, then you have a bigger plot or whatever, like keep it this online with what we're already regulating as far as like sizes for things and spaces. But I think that, I'm actually going to the Vermont Forest Cemetery, which is a completely green burial site, and they're, like you're saying, they do little rocks, or they plant a bush, or a natural habitat tree, or something like that. They don't allow uprights, they don't allow big markers. I think it's only, you can only go like 16 inches over soil with something, everything has to be.
A news program, little blurb about that cemetery.
Yeah, I went to a screening at the Savoy, that the woman who runs it was part of, and I had an appointment last week to go to the cemetery to talk to her and look at it and walk around. And I had to reschedule it, so when I go do that, I'll kind of maybe try and get more information on,
I think
maybe
it's-
not necessarily what they're doing, but what, you know, what Greenberry, what her, clients are bringing to her, like, is it really important to them to not have a stone, because that's, you know, something more than simply being put in the ground, or, you know, I think there's a lot of gray area between the actual burial and the marker.
I think we had a conversation about this here at the cemetery. I think we agreed.
We even talked, or it came up in the discussion about using the cow pasture.
Yeah. We agreed that it was not practice that we wanted to see happen at all.
Hey, more on the practical side. How do they address settling? As that body breaks down, it's gonna create a depression.
Yeah,
And
there's,
then you-
that's
you
the
got
whole
your-
semantics thing behind it. Most of it, and I've been to like 3, so I don't know a lot about it. The ones that I've seen, the sections, yeah, I mean, they're basically fields or a few trees here and there, and it becomes what it becomes. That's not what our cemetery is, though. It's that cemetery's got a plan, and, you know, you're basically fitting into it, or you don't get a monument there. I don't know how that all works. You're right, you know, how deep is the burial? And if there's no vault, there is gonna be something gonna happen.
Yeah, I'll talk to, the cemetery foreman over at Green Mountain. They've done quite a few green burials over the years, so I'll check in with him and see.
The grass
what
is
he can
4
take
feet
on.
high there, so.
Well,
You
that's.
can't see it because you
that's a
don't mow
whole
it.
nother bag. But I can check in with him and see, I'm just thinking about indentation and,
Exactly.
you know, how the ground settles and what we can anticipate, to see, you know, years down the road, not just right after burial, you know, as things decompose.
What was the name of the forest
At
cemetery?
Vermont Forest Cemetery, it's in Roxbury, Vermont. But she's got a lot of information about this, so, I can bring some of that. But yeah, we should ask Donna to come and contribute, personally. I didn't realize that was all, set up before and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think we've had 2, possibly 3 discussions. We had it for, Donna sent the letter, and then we were ready to really get into the discussion. Nothing happened. We touched on it a little bit just because it was part of the agenda. Right,
Is she going to be asked to come to the next meeting?
yes. Okay, well, I'll ask her, but depending on her schedule, it could be, you know, next month or the month after, whenever she's available. 5.3, assassin monument.
So Gary, Donnie and I went to the Fatty Mausoleum site, and Gary brought the model, and I'll pass them around. There's different angles, and we can keep things moving. That is where he would like it to go. And that Donnie agreed with him. He had it measured out for the mowers. He wanted to make sure he could get mowers through appropriately. He wanted to make sure that it was oriented with the other, lots on the site, that it was, gonna be efficient in all the caretaking ways.
Mhm.
is a motion
Sorry.
backwards, facing.
It's facing, he wants her facing into the mausoleum, so it looks like he's looking at his parents. And, you know, doing the drive up to it, while it was there, it actually looked really lovely. And I did meet with Nicholas, on Friday, and he can't see any reason why we shouldn't allow it. He thinks that, you know, it's where Gary wants to be buried. They have the room, they paid a lot of money for that site, and it's in line with and tasteful for what's already there.
So is this going to be a monument for him?
It is going to be his monument.
So that means there's two monuments on one lot. And that is not permitted.
And I understand that's part of the rule book, but I would really like to make an exception for Gary.
We make an exception for Gary, who is a fine citizen and has been in the granite industry forever, but then so is everybody else. I think if we opened that door.
I mean, there's 12 of us.
Well,
We're not
there's
all
12
gonna pull this card, okay?
No, but other people will. And I think we're opening a dangerous door to allow, I mean, the rules are there for a reason, to keep the cemetery.
And rules
consistent.
can be amended.
That is true, that is true. Why doesn't Gary buy his own lot?
I'm about ready to sell mine, just to let him do it. That is a huge lot, there's plenty of room on it. If any layman, normal person went walking through, I don't think that they would question why there were two things on one lot, because it doesn't feel like.
Well, it's not the land we worry about, it's people who are going to see this and say, they already got to do this. And I have to say this, just being around town, Gary is already around town saying, I'm getting my memorial up at Hope Cemetery.
I think he's doing wishful thinking. He's had a lot of health issues lately and has given his entire career to this industry. And the city, and has been a really pivotal person for teaching other people and having, a lot of action in his studio. I think it's,
How many,
appropriate.
is it just Gino and his wife that are in the mausoleum?
Yeah.
So it's basically a 3 crypt mausoleum that 2 people are in. Right? No, it's 3.
Oh,
These are two.
I'm
is
not
the
sure.
3.
I don't know if it's.
Yeah, usually.
I think it's just his parents in there. His uncle is outside with a grass marker, and if he can put his monument where he wants.
The reason I'm bringing it up is that, if the concern is, basically, it was approved as a mausoleum to crypt. Basically, it would have, it's also approved as a 3 crypt, because it is a 3 crypt situation, so that's what I'm saying.
When I talked to Donnie, he said there was like so much land, you could put like 14 people there or something like that. They've got the rights to the entire, that entire space.
but it's one memorial for family. And that's the mausoleum. That seems pretty clear.
I think we have to look at the language.
Do you have more?
Last sentence on the page.
Yeah, it says it, but it also says, cemetery officials have the authority to reject any plan or design for any memorial which, in the opinion of the cemetery director, is unsuited, to the lot on which it is to be erected, or because of size, design, or stone.
Yeah, and then if you hop down to 15, it says the maximum size of the memorial is governed by the size of the lot on which it's placed. And all the percentages break down. I'm pretty sure that mausoleum is under the allotted amount of space.
So it, on 16, the coloring, painting, lithochroming, enameling, lacquering, or bronzing of letters or carving on letters of stone is prohibited in all new sections of the cemetery. And I think that has been done as well.
When people
So
ask
it's,
specifically to do something and we have to take it as an individual.
I mean, we saw it with the dogs. I mean, it specifically says no dogs in here and dogs are in the cemetery now. So, as a committee, as an advisory committee, we can advise the council, but ultimately the council has the authority to do it, and the cemetery director has the authority to do it because the council has given the cemetery director permission. So as a committee, we can advise the director to let the council know what the committee has said, but it comes down to, the council.
The city council.
Yes.
So Gary will go to city council
I mean, so,
or
So-
will
so Gary-
Nicholas speak about it at city council.
so in proper procedure, Gary would come here.
Gary has come here.
He has, but we didn't have the meeting. So officially, Gary would have to come back. He doesn't need to bring the monument. It's not necessary. He just needs to talk to the committee, and explain to the committee his idea, and the committee will make their decision.
That's what I feel like I'm doing for him right now. And I've already talked to Nicholas and he said it's fine. And so if that's all we need to take it to the council,
So this is where we get into a gray area. The committee, don't get me wrong, the committee has not designated you to do those things.
yeah.
So as a committee, we have to make the decision as a whole. And so I understand what you're doing.
We kind of did that at the last meeting though. We talked about it and I said I was gonna follow up with Gary and Donnie and get hard information about what it is we wanna do, if he wants to do it. And that meeting, I was told to go to Nicholas.
Is it in the minutes?
Yes,
It is in the minutes.
yes.
So, it's a lot, it just doesn't seem. I just don't think it's fair to jerk him around anymore. I mean, this has been going on for a really
But he
long
knows the
time.
rules.
But it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't. So we have a monument now in Hope Cemetery that has black granite that has been etched. That was put in there and it wasn't taken out. So the committee said that's absurd, and we went through the whole process and they're still there. Because the council and the director decided that they're gonna stay. So we can make a new one, we can throw this out, it doesn't matter, the city council has the ultimate decision. So, yeah,
So basically, what I'm reading here is the cemetery director could say yea or nay to this,
yes,
and then they could take it to the council.
yes.
I would assume as well, if the director says no, then they want to pursue it, they go to the council. To me, they go to the council. That's, oops, sorry, excuse me.
We just have to have something, I do not want to miss any steps, and the procedure would be that I ask for a vote, committee votes. If there are enough votes in either way, Gary can do whatever he wants with that, but we need to have something formal so that Gary can do what he needs to do.
So I hear Eileen's point too, even though I don't want to screw up Gary. I like Gary. If you open the door, then the next guy who wants to put a pelican in front of his monument because he likes pelicans, or how you say no to that, I just. Sure, I'm not sure where it stops, or if it ever goes any further, who knows?
I mean,
It's not untasteful what he wants to do. But,
There's setting precedent.
well, what is it it's, you know, just because we don't like something, does that mean they can't have it? And right now, it's basically you can't have it because you can't have it, you've got yours. So that's, I don't care so much which way it goes, to be honest with you, but somebody that the councils can decide. But I would hate for everything to turn into Coney Island without some thought to, you know, okay, we can do this because of this reason.
sure, and
Not
that's
everybody can do this because they want to.
what we would do as a committee. We would state, this is how we feel, these are the reasons why, and you just support what the committee has voted on, like, you know, and if you disagree, sorry, you have to do what the committee says. And
But the reason I was bringing up about the third crypt, because I think there is one, is there probably wouldn't be so much of an issue if somebody was getting a bonus interment spot. That Gary wants to be buried next to the monument, which, yeah, okay, that is adding a monument, adding a burial. If he was to be placed in the mausoleum, then you're just adding a piece of granite, not another burial. And it might make it cleaner, but he probably doesn't want to do that. So, don't know. I think I do believe when you start adding a burial space to a pre-existing lot, you gotta think it through.
You might get this.
It's gonna have to be some sort of rule or regulation, or else people, you know, down in Boston, I don't know, even know what we do, but they're going 8 cremation niches on a 1/8 by 8 by 2 die. And it just snowballs. So I don't know, like I said, I don't want to screw the area up. I think we better think it.
So, I mean, what Heather was saying is, and I do know that there are many places for burials in front of this mausoleum.
Mhm.
And having talked to Gary about this a while ago, the mausoleum was only going to hold his mom and dad and not the 3 boys. And that wasn't going to be a possibility. And Gary's personal feelings for his parents, I don't know whether I should say this, I'm not definitely gonna write it down. He didn't like his father very much, and having that angel facing that mausoleum really is kind of ironic to me. And it doesn't fit, it's like we're missing something. And then if you wanted to be buried there, there's room. But not for another private memorial.
Does anyone know what year that mausoleum was built?
And there, well,
It's been a long time. And that was,
I'd
you know,
say,
Gary's dad's business, his
Yeah.
livelihood,
Yeah.
and he passed it on to Gary, and now Gary wants to do something for himself with his family.
so
Yeah.
the other thing I want to throw out there, and I'm only saying this because I'm not gonna make anything out of it. We have a lot close by. And it's 14 grays, I believe, or 12, one or the other. And I talked to, back then it was Dwight and Donnie about doing individual raised markers, like scroll markers or something like that for the markers, and that wasn't gonna happen because of the mowing. So, you know, that,
Well, that's why we got Donnie out there and he measured it all right up for the mowers, that, you know, he didn't want it junking his operations up, so, you know, it's all appropriately measured out to Donnie's specifications for the mowers and for the grounds, and he is in support of that.
Tom? Any opinions?
The practical side of this is as long as it doesn't screw up Downey's stuff. You know, that's okay, but again, if it's in the rules that you can't do it. And you follow what's in the rules. And you change rules. You allow that to happen,
No one can make an exception for the rule in this specific case.
unless you got, then you put that in the regulations that you can, exceptions are granted through, then you put a person in for exceptions, but basically it's like, right,
Mhm.
gotta go to should go to the council,
I think it belongs there.
yeah.
The uncle was buried there, but he has a grass marker. But was there any controversy when he was
No,
there?
no, it's not a memorial, it's a grass mark.
Well, I don't think you know the conversation, like, it could have been, I want this, and so when he was told that, no, you can't, it's a rule, and he's like, okay, it's the rule, and I think things are different now, where, and you saw it done several times with bronze pieces,
Mhm.
different colored stone, the dogs, we have the rules, but it's not, it's just an advisory committee, it's not a, alderman, remember it was called, yes, alderman, where the rules were made and it was strictly enforced. And the city council couldn't do anything, the city council has full control now, and they can make the decision. So we can make our recommendation, to the director, and then it goes from there. So right now, our responsibility is to, if we feel strongly in the rules and regs, we vote that way. If we think that it belongs to city council and we're not gonna touch it, that's what we do.
Will they understand?
Uh, That's,
I mean,
that's not my area.
how will they know
I'm staying in my,
how to vote?
they vote how they wanna vote.
Yeah, Tom, and Nicholas is briefed on this, could bring the information to city council. They could vote
They'll
on
get
it.
get the rules and regulations, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably know him, I'm assuming,
I don't know.
he's been a prominent citizen in the city, I'm assuming. Well,
Then-
well known in the granite industry.
The only way to me then that should be presented is that should it be allowed to have an exception under the rule of only one monument per lot? And if so, do you approve of that? Does the council approve of that? That means nobody can go off and do what they want still.
Mhm.
It means that they say it's okay to have this exception. The council agrees for the exception for the circumstances. But it can't happen again unless somebody
Unless
goes
it goes through the same
whole
process.
process. I mean, that's the only way I can see it working. This committee's not gonna come to consensus. This, and I just don't, like I said, I don't want it to take off and turn into a free-for-all of extra stones, monuments, yeah, upright monuments going with other big lots. If it's approached as an exception to me, then and put into their lap, this is what's been, because hey, Gary has done a lot for the industry, no question. So that's where I'm at on it.
That sounds awfully like a motion.
That's my opinion.
So you're not making a motion.
Mike can make that as a motion and
Yeah, it's entirely up to you. I'm not forcing a motion on you.
yeah, we gotta move on past it sooner or later.
So if you're willing to give Gary an exception, then it doesn't need to go to city council unless it fails here.
We don't have the right to grant an exception as far as I'm concerned. There's not that, I didn't read anything there that said exceptions will be
Well,
entertained.
See, we're recommending to the director, and the director can say, because we're gonna throw it in your court. So if we give Gary the exception, you're going to recommend to you that Gary Sassy gets the exception. And you can run with that and process it, and Gary starts the process of whatever he needs to do. You say no, Gary has another option to go to the council.
That exception language needs to be in that book.
It is, the director has the authority to do that.
Yep,
Not specifically.
Spaces in the bottoms.
Where is that?
Page 11, the very last, number 3. Sometimes we still take a vote
Well,
so that,
no motion has been made yet. And if Mark has made that motion, there hasn't been a second.
But that's not true. What this sentence says is only one central or family memorial shall be allowed on a lot and shall be set in a space designated by the cemetery director. That doesn't mean you can put another one in where the cemetery director says. That's my point, that there needs to be another sentence that says, this is the rule and the modifications are possible as an exception approved by the city council, because it won't happen right here. At least it's not gonna have to happen right now, because I don't think.
do you feel like you have sufficient information to digest all this and then confer with the council on it?
I'm kind of leaning to agree with Mark that it really doesn't say that. I have exceptions, it says I can disallow, I can say, no, you can't do that. But it's not picking up that says, yeah, you can do that. I'm getting more of that, the ability to say no than the ability to say yes.
So,
To go to the council with it?
so
We can take it to the council.
Yeah,
I'm thinking-
yeah, I'm not asking you to make a decision about what you would say yay or nay. I'm saying, do you feel comfortable with the
Yeah, I'm
information that
thinking,
you've got? I'll give you these if you want.
I think,
Nicholas has seen them and you guys can
yeah,
take it to
we
the
could probably,
council.
I'll talk to Nicholas on that, but I think we need to
Clarify it.
Deal with that.
visit this, to add that kind of language.
It needs to be an
An
addendum to
exception.
that.
But it's already been done. So, the stone that I keep naming, the Rogers. And that was, approved by Dwight. Dwight said it was okay, according to the person who had the money done. And the council agreed with that. So it has been,
So which one is this?
it's the Rogers, right? The two,
over in Evergreen, it's got 3 little pieces of black granite with etchings of Mr. Rogers' wife and then
Oh,
that drew them
Yeah,
together.
but excuse me, I was
It's
there.
right by
I-
Tom
No,
Luke's
no,
house.
I was there for that. We enacted the rule of the black inserts and bronze and all that stuff. In the interim, before anything was published, that monument went in and was approved. The rule wasn't down in paper at the time.
So it went in before the rule came down,
Mhm.
so basically
Yes,
grandfathered it.
so that's the exact same thing that's happened here. There is no rule. And the director can approve.
There is a rule, that says one monument per lot, it does. My point is, I'm not saying it's not okay to do, it's just to stop it from happening flippantly all over the place, you need to put a sentence in, exceptions will be considered by the city council.
Case by case.
Yeah, or by the case. Yeah, exceptions will be considered by the case.
Right. And then that's it, then if everybody decides that it's the best thing to do to let Gary have that stone, and that's fine, and then you can't do it again anywhere else unless you go through that process.
Right, you can add
And
a
satisfy
couple of
that.
layers of bureaucracy to keep it in check.
And if the city council wants to say they defer to this committee to make that decision, you still need the language. And then somebody needs to make that decision. Then it would go to a vote here. That would be it. But right now, that language does not exist.
I still think the director has it does say it, but there are so many exceptions in here that the director has over this,
Except for this one. He doesn't have that one. It just needs a sentence. Then everybody.
This director's not gonna make that exception without the language.
and that's fair.
And I think one concise and sentence will take care of that, and then city council can decide. We'll make that decision, or kick it back here, we vote. Then at least, no matter what the outcome is, it doesn't take off just rampant. And people start saying, well, I'm gonna put a troll here, and I'm gonna put a gnome here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and we don't want that either, right? But I'm not saying that's what Gary wants to do, that's not my point. But it does say one. They have one.
I'm really confused what I should write down.
Nothing's happened yet.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Someone has to move it forward.
Some of the benches that are on some of these lots, are those considered memorials or are they just benches
They're
or?
just benches. They're a bench.
Well, I remember there was I think, or Donna Holden themselves, I think there was an issue with putting that bench up next to the family monument.
Right.
There was discussion about that way back when. I don't remember the details, but people look at it. I mean, people are trying to understand, the rules and be fair. We need something in there. I guess I'll make a motion.
Well, it's 10 years old, we could do the rules again.
That took 2 years.
We were supposed to do it one winter and that never occurred.
Yeah, no one was interested in.
Say,
Well, it seems
They
timely
weren't-
now,
they
I
weren't
think that
mentioning
maybe we
about-
could do it.
Rego, looking at
Where's
these.
that page?
Oh, next.
So, I will make a motion. I will make a motion, so we aren't here till midnight. I'll make a motion that on page 11, where it says only one central or family memorial shall be allowed on a lot and shall be set in a space designated by the cemetery director. Unless an exception is granted by the city council and or the cemetery committee. Right now, we're deferring to the city council.
Mhm.
If the city council says we're okay with this and you make the decision, then fine. If they want to make the decision, even better.
Mhm.
But we gotta tie it out.
Can you read it out?
Second that motion.
No, I didn't. I
Okay,
didn't read
so the
that.
motion begins with this entire sentence, page number 3, ending with cemetery director, comma, unless an exception is granted by the city council and or the cemetery committee.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
no, no,
I don't know, wait a minute, could we do that again? I didn't know what we were voting on. We're
What you-
voting on
what you
this
just read.
motion,
what you just read.
yes.
We're gonna vote to
We're gonna
present
vote to present this to
that
the
to city council.
And or the cemetery committee.
Well, no, I think
No.
the language has gotta go to the city council to make sure they're okay with it.
Add it to the rules and regs.
Then they would say, we'll rule on that here. Or they'll flip it back. And if they flip it back and the language has been approved, then we have the right to make the decision.
So this, you want this new sentence to go through Tom to the city council. And then they decide. And then Gary waits.
Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
Does
The
Tom,
one thing I agree with is he's waited a long time.
I think it'd be the next meeting, the agenda hasn't been set for city council yet.
I thought we were
Yeah,
just
it goes
voting
out
on whether or not
Friday.
to
It's-
amend
it's not-
that line
Yeah,
here
it goes out on
for
Friday.
ourselves in the rule book
I'm not,
and then
I think we have to,
take it to city council.
I think we have to.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And whether they may say they will make the decision. So we have to, if they defer it, then okay. But we're not, that way we aren't setting a precedent. If we decide to do that, and it's not gonna take off without control.
how will the city council know?
Tom's gonna show them exactly how it works.
Then we should take a vote and Tom should know the
Yes.
feeling of the committee.
Yes.
About the language that we're changing the rule
No,
book.
about our feeling about this extra,
I-
making it
Well,
exception.
right now I can't vote for it because it doesn't exist. That's the point. You can't vote because you don't have the right to have the second piece or to consider it. What we're saying is maybe we should be able to consider it. And I personally feel that's okay on a one-on-one basis. Considering the circumstance, but if we vote on it as is right now, then I don't think it flies. I think this is, are we going to accommodate a one-time thing that doesn't disrupt the cemetery? That's, to me, what this is.
For Tom,
The motion and the second and the vote will give Tom the committee's authority to go and bring this to the council. So if it fails, then he doesn't go to the council and we're stuck with it to deal with it. That's what's gonna happen.
Which
And
hasn't
if it
worked out.
passes, he goes forward, gives it to the council, they have the ball, they either move it forward or give it back to us, which we would be wherever we are if the vote failed.
They also have to approve this language.
They don't need to approve they don't need to approve the language, they send it back to us so that we take care of it. They would have, I guess they would, yes, they would approve it, and we would add that along with all the other stuff that we want to have to the revised rules.
Revised law.
Now, are there more things you want to add or change in this
No,
document?
not right now, because that, we're just, Yes, there
I
are.
don't wanna be seeing you showing up every
No,
three meetings and that's what the change.
it's not necessary because
We could just do this one.
yes,
Considering that Gary's so serious about it, we owe responsible remark back, yes or no. With that there, Eileen's right. The hardcore thing is no. You're not allowed. To me, if I'm worried more about the precedent it sets than what Gary wants to do. And if we don't control that, then it could take off in lots of directions. So if we get this little caveat to this, you have an avenue to do what Gary wants, and somebody, either the council or this group, can vote on it. But it doesn't take off and go its own direction.
Do you think this adding unless this exception will stop people from taking
There
on?
are several things in here that.
Mm-hmm.
It will require them
To
to
do more steps.
go through the
You get this mentioned.
process.
You have to get it.
I am
You can't
surprised
just do
that, yes.
Yeah.
You gotta.
And Gary's not just doing it, he's
Well, and
doing this
They
appropriately.
have a sizable lot, Number one. then they have 2 lots.
Fourteen,
14 graders.
yeah.
Anyway, that's my motion.
and having made the second, we've already had the discussion, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. So, call Nicholas, email Nicholas, have him put on the agenda and.
Yeah, send me the wording, please.
You get it. She's got it.
She's got it.
Yeah, send me the wording and I'll get it to Nicholas and see where in the agenda he wants to put that.
thank you.
You're asking me to remember what I put for a motion?
No, sorry. That's why I wanted to back to me.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, you were.
That was correct.
You were correct.
Okay. I still think Tom needs a feeling of the community. Needs. Now, where are we? I mean, he's representing us.
Well, let me see if I got this right. No, a maybe, a yes.
I don't vote.
You don't vote.
I can vote, but I don't need to because it was all,
Right.
unanimous.
Yeah.
I can break a tie.
No,
Because of the rules.
right.
So if you
Change
took
it.
a vote
Right now, it's-
after these rules are revised, you might get a different vote.
exactly.
Yeah, I think you gotta get the language, then revisit it. Or if they wanna take the ball in their court and
Just
make the decision, that's fine. Whatever, we'll live with whatever they say.
We have to.
So Tom, how do I get it to you? I've got to do it today.
Tom.Baker at barrecity.org.
Okay, so, I'm gonna briefly go through this open meeting law. Does anyone have any questions first? Like,
No, I looked through that. Didn't realize that was in place.
okay, so, the only thing I want to stress is, the minutes have to reflect the agenda. I went through and looked, at the minutes, and it didn't go like step by step through the agenda. And that's the legal document that we have to go by. So, we follow the agenda. As soon as additions and deletions are set, we can't change, we can't stray from the agenda. We can't add anything, we can't wander off into a 20-minute conversation about all sorts of stuff. I just want to make sure that the committee knows that. Because if that does happen, it's a violation of open meeting law and it's a fine of $500 and, there's, steps that we have to take to remedy that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we set the agenda, we follow it, and that the minutes of the meeting have to, just a mirror image of what the agenda said. Other than that, I mean, you can read it, you understand.
So you're saying that my minutes did not follow the agenda, which there were two agendas once.
Yes,
There were two agendas. So I don't,
you don't, yes, so both, minutes from two meetings have to reflect, it is fine, we can do just starting forward. You don't have to correct anything because they've already been approved. It is what it is. So, you know, call to order, you state the time, like, this rarely happens where we have a motion. All you have to do is state that, we talked about, in 5.3, Gary Sass's monument. The committee voted to send it to city council, and then the vote was unanimous. Or the motion was made by Mark, seconded by Heather, and the vote was unanimous. That's all you have to do. There doesn't need to be a transcript, anything. It's just the bare bones. And then it just has to follow the agenda, because anyone looking at the minutes has to understand that this is the order we followed and what happened from it. Because I watched the video, completely different. Like, I didn't know that all these things had occurred. Like, for me, it didn't look like Heather followed the agenda,
I didn't know what I was doing, because I thought you were gonna be here.
which is, that's why, like, if I'm not here,
Yeah.
you just follow the agenda. That's it. That's all you do.
Okay.
It's all laid out, and I know you said you had a second agenda.
Yeah, because I didn't know if you were gonna put one in.
You made your own agenda, but if you followed that one, huge open meeting.
I don't even remember what I did,
Because-
honestly.
Because the minutes are posted. I mean, not the minutes aren't posted, but the agenda is posted. And if someone came on with the posted agenda and you went off with, like, and it was something that they wanted to talk about,
Oh, on
yes.
the, yeah,
they-
okay, okay.
So it's crazy that these things have to be followed.
Okay.
Because we will get in trouble, and then it falls on city council, and they're not gonna like it.
well, I know you wouldn't have liked my very first minutes though, because I have a completely different idea of what minutes are supposed to be. But that was the third revision, and Heather approved. Rini read it, said it's approved. I sent it to you, no, I sent you the first copy,
In 5 days, 5 calendar
Right,
days.
5
would have to
days.
be
right?
sent.
So we're talking totally bare bones,
Yes, but it
totally.
just a brief, like, we talked about, approving the minutes, and the committee voted unanimously. We talked about the Cozy Endowment Trust. Mark gave an update, talked about looking for someone to help us facilitate what's going on.
None of the specifics.
No, you don't need a transcript, because that's what the video is for. Now that we have the video, everyone can see it, everyone can see exactly what happened, but it needs to follow this. So I'm not sure if the video is a legal document in itself, but this is what hangs around for a year, and then it gets disposed of.
Okay, then I do have a request. You have to send me an agenda.
I did
You don't. I have never gotten one from you. I did not get one.
send me your email address, because I must have the wrong address.
Because I've never gotten it. I can just write it down.
Okay. Right, 6.2 is ready schedule. So we need to decide whether or not we keep this schedule or change it to Tuesday.
That's what she suggested.
I think Roxanne, Nicholas's executive assistant, has assigned us this this Zoom time. And I think because there are so many meetings, there isn't another one available. I'm positive that's what she told me. So we would have Monday at 3:30.
My understanding is there are 2 Zoom links that the city has.
One for meeting, one
Okay,
for. But all the
That
committee
sounds- that
meetings
sounds
share the same Zoom link. Which is what she's talking about.
no, that doesn't make sense. I knew there were 2, but then I remembered as soon as you said it, that there's one designated.
Why don't we ask the question if there's another time slot available formally from you? And then, see what's there. I know if she wants Tuesday, Tuesdays are BGA meeting days, so that isn't gonna work for me.
Let's just see what they have for open Zoom times, and we work with what we can.
Coordinated with this room, too, would be good.
Hello? Good.
Okay, we'll have to wait. So we'll have, Tom do that. He'll send us a list of times. Do not, this is also.
Well,
part
we left the
of
meetings
open
open.
meeting law. Do not send it to all, just send it to me. You can't have a conversation about.
Well, I'll drop the cables.
So
make sure
she'll
the cables
send
are
us
down
an
on
email
both ends,
with the
yes.
option, and then we send our response.
Yeah,
individually to
cemetery,
you.
yes.
Okay,
Because if we have a conversation, that
Okay.
is open meeting law.
All right, no problem. Great.
Making it too complicated.
I know, I knew that if you were gonna have issues with it, but it's the law, and I would rather not do it that way, but I don't have a choice.
Yeah. I gotta get going.
Okay, we have, Tom's report, and we're pretty much done.
Okay, we're gonna go with the Cliff Notes version. I am looking at some software to clean up a lot of the issues with paperwork. Because currently you have to mark things down in like 3 different locations. And it's just very cumbersome. And none of them are complete. And Donnie's talking, he's saying that there could possibility that stuff gets double sold because it's not marked down in this one that's marked it up. So we're looking at doing that. Flowers are due to be in this week. Full staff starts on Wednesday. We got a new mower for coming up, and 2 new mowers coming in for there. For the cemeteries. And I do want to just point out that we have 3 cemeteries. We haven't mentioned the other 2 for more than 2 minutes in the 3 meetings we've had. All right, I walked through them and I don't know what to say about it because I'm ashamed. There's monuments that are falling down, laying in the ground, and not a sentence is said about it. All right.
They came to the city that way.
Just the amount of attention you put into Hope. These people and these other ones deserve the same care. And they're all cemeteries, first and foremost. That's what they are.
Agree with that.
So we used to have, monument approval. We kind of did it really well because it's rare. Do you
Well,
want to add in the agenda, a Hope Cemetery, Elmwood, and St. Monica line so that we can just go through and, or would you rather have?
I just want to make sure the other 2 are brought up. You know, maybe at some point we probably ought to look at doing a field trip.
I've been I know what you mean. Yeah,
Well, I
well,
just-
most of it is foundation issues. And the fix is not cheap,
Not cheap, yes, exactly.
and, you know, Hope and Elmwood, I think, have done pretty good jobs of their foundation work, but unfortunately, that cemetery did not. And that's the biggest problem.
There's a lot
Yeah.
on that backside,
And it's gonna be very costly. Might be something to look at it, maybe a grant towards,
something.
because you're gonna have to take them all down, tear out the foundation, put them back in. It's a lot of work, lot of work, and we could probably do a Band-Aid by erecting the ones that we can and put them up there and wedge them.
Put them back on the bases and then just
But,
wait for them to fall again.
yeah, and think, you know, hopefully it's not on a child.
Right.
You know, there's some of them, if they're that far gone, it's safer to leave them down till we get a solution. But I think it's a good point to bring up for sure, Tom.
Yeah.
It gets lost.
Who's in charge of the maintenance over there? The mowing and the maintenance of the Donnie's crew
Me,
and you?
I'm ultimately in charge of it.
Do you have a full staff for the summer?
Donnie says we do. Yeah, they're all coming back, the ones we're bringing back. We didn't bring them all back because of the budget, but we're gonna take care of it. Hopefully. No, we got this, me and Donnie and Joel have sat down and worked out a plan. We're taking some large area mowing off of their plate. We'll let the facility staff do it with the big mowers, they can take care of it a lot quicker than they can with the small ones.
Anything else for Tom before we move on? Okay. Next meeting is June 9th. Roundtable. Just so that we don't get off the rails of the roundtable, there's no discussion. People just kind of go around and state something and we don't have. That kind of likely, we'll be meeting well because it's a discussion.
What kind of flowers did you have this year?
We have 5 different colors of geraniums coming in. Let's change some stuff up. They're not all uniform, everything. We're gonna put branding on it, is it branded? Go for it.
Good.
Better?
Happy here.
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
Huh?
I'm not gonna hold the meeting up anymore.
All right, look for a motion to adjourn. Have a motion
To adjourn.
in for a second.
Second.
I think a second, all in favor,
Bye.
we're adjourned at 5:00.
Thank you, folks.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.